can't have children. When I met my husband, Eric, in my junior year of college, I tearfully told him this. "And you know this how?" he asked, rolling his eyes. Truth is, I didn't actually know, but I have a flair for the dramatic. My parents had struggled through years of infertility before having me, their miracle baby, so I had a hunch. And even my hunch seemed unfair because I was born with some serious maternal instincts. As far back as I can recall, I've fed anyone who crossed my path. In high school, a teacher tried to stop me. "Alyssia, you may not serve spaghetti in the hallway at 8 a.m. At my first job out of college, I'd walk around cubicles, writing down birthdays. I'd then bring scratch-made cakes for all my coworkers. One Friday, my boss, Brian, told me, "Alyssia, we love you here. I've probably gained 5 pounds. But have you ever considered owning your own business that involves cooking?" A year later, I took Brian's advice and I launched that business, Mama's Gotta Eat. With training in nutrition, a love of cooking, and maternal instincts out the wazoo, I began making healthy meals for new moms. It was the perfect combination of my passions, and my business exploded. 3 years later, Eric and I decided it was time to get serious about starting a family. I'd already miscarried, twice. Then my doctor showed me the sonogram of my lone working ovary. All along, I wasn't just being dramatic. I really was most likely infertile. That day, I went to the movies at 10 a.m. and cried. But you can't keep a good mom down. So Eric and I decided to adopt. When we brought our daughter Millie home, I felt a new kind of peace. I had been mothering people my entire life, and now the title was official. With an infant to care for and a business to run, my hands were beyond full. But motherhood was so amazing. Eric and I knew that we'd want another. Adoption is not cheap. Bills were still showing up in our mailbox. How could we afford another? The answer came when my friend Jen texted me about an open call for Food Fighters, an NBC reality cooking show with the potential $100,000 in prize money. On the show, a home cook competes against 5 professional chefs, 1 per round. Contestants prepare their own signature dishes, and then the chefs create their own gourmet versions. Judges choose the best, and each round earns more money. When I arrived at the open call with one of my homemade dishes, hundreds of people stood in line. I watched closely, though. Casting agents were clearly more interested in each person's story rather than their food. And I had a great story. Biracial, infertile mom. She adopts and wants more kids. When it was my turn, I laid it on thick. My mother is Japanese. And my father is like super white. So I want to make food for my adopted daughter so she can learn about both cultures. I was called for a second audition the very next day. And their questions quickly got personal. "Did you feel like a failure when you found out that you were infertile?" Yeah, I did, thanks. But with my eyes on the prize, I played along. I kept thinking of Millie and how we didn't want her to be an only child like me. Only children can be weird. What followed were 6 more weeks of auditioning by phone. Endless network producers called asking about my food, my infertility, everything. When I was chosen for a round of final in-person auditions, I was ecstatic. A few weeks later, I was boarding a plane to Los Angeles, leaving 4-month-old Millie for the very first time. I was terrified to miss any moment with her. The morning I left, I begged her, "Please stay little while I'm gone." That audition lasted 2 days. 12 of us competed and had no idea how many were still being auditioned. In the show, contestants have 20 minutes to cook each dish. So at NBC Studios, we were thrown into the fire. As we each practiced our signature dishes, cramming hours of cooking into just minutes, executives hovered nearby. We also had consulting chefs and story editors. The chefs enhanced my dishes. Chicken spaghetti casserole became pasta with 3 kinds of mushroom and a cream sauce to be baked in prosciutto cups. I don't even like cooked prosciutto, but I went along with it. My story editor's job was to make me as sympathetic and as exciting as possible. I quickly learned that reality TV has nothing to do with reality. I rallied through the audition. Having watched a lot of Top Chef, I knew how to play the part. They wanted drama, and honey, I can do drama. Making matters worse, I was also physically ill for the entire trip and bloated. Perplexed, it squeezed my body into Spanx. My appetite also went haywire. While fellow auditioners enjoyed diverse Hollywood cuisine, I became obsessed with a club sandwich made by our hotel's meager bar. I ate 4 of them. I was also craving raw potatoes doused in hot sauce. I returned home exhausted, sick, and unsure of anything. But I got the call. I'd been chosen. I was going to be a food fighter, and in just 2 days. Bloated and still eating like a hog, I suddenly wondered, what if I'm pregnant? Peeing on a stick confirmed it. I stared at that positive pregnancy test, balanced on my shaky knees, and my heart began to race with excitement. But then reality set in. Having suffered those earlier miscarriages, I knew the odds were not in my favor. Winning on the show and taking home $100,000 to expand my family through adoption seemed like a much safer bet. So 2 days later, sick and pregnant, I took the risk and I went back to LA. I had a full day to prepare and practice my dishes, going over every aspect of each recipe in great detail. 2 rules you learn in reality TV cooking: ABC, always be cooking, and ABT, always be talking, all at the same time, in 20-minute frantic intervals, with the camera in your face and your story editor crouched down behind the counter prompting you, "Alyssia, what are you doing?" "I'm chopping walnuts." "Alyssia, tell us what you're doing now." I'm still chopping walnuts." This frenzy had me telling my producer it should really be ABC, ABT, and IBS. Tasting your food is also a must, but my taste buds, completely off, and all the smells made me so nauseous. While taping, right in the middle of my 20-minute cook-offs, I ducked behind the counter to barf into a bin. 6 different times. The makeup artist kept dashing on between rounds to reapply my lip gloss. Before round 4, our producer told me, "We need to see your heart." Would it be good if I cried? "Well, can you cry?" he asked. I thought, can I cry? I'm pregnant, and I haven't eaten in 12 hours. I'd cry if you told me Burger King doesn't serve breakfast anymore. So, when the host asked me about Millie, I cried. "This is all for her," I said, picturing how sweet my smiling little girl would be with a baby sibling. I did not win the $100,000, but I did win 3 out of 5 rounds, and that meant going home with $35,000. Not bad for some home cooking. As the host said after round 1, "Alyssia, you just baked a $5,000 brownie." P.S. I'm open to baking more of those if any of y'all are interested. Returning home with my winnings, I also returned home to face my pregnancy. Being on national TV and winning some serious cash was sweet. But this past December, I experienced the real icing on the cake. I gave birth to my very own miracle baby. I gave Millie the sibling I knew she'd adore, and she does. Since my episode of Food Fighters aired, I've been asked to be on more reality cooking shows, and I've said no to those opportunities. Because today, I have a family. I'm finally a mom, and there is no better reality than that.